Okay, so Joe, how's your year been? This crazy, well, I don't say 2021 now. I would say 2020, but we're still
Oh,
kind of all ongoing.
there hasn't been much of this year yet, has there? But
No,
it is looking too similar to last year for my liking.
yeah, yeah. And
um,
how about the homeschool then? I guess you're doing that now as well, right?
I am, but I'm really on a blessed end for that. So don't get me wrong, it doesn't always go smoothly, but my two are 11, so they're in year six, last year of primary school. And I've got two of them, and they're learning the same stuff. So that has definitely got to be easier than some of my friends who've got three in three different years, and they can use the same device and they can get the same lot going. And so it means that I just have to start them off with one big lot, and and they've got each other. I was talking to my friend the other day, she's got one child, and I think that must be really demanding, because in its own way, just because they've got to occupy them all the time. And my two, when they have a break, I throw them outside and they run about in the garden and occupy themselves. They're old enough to. So I can't really complain about that. I mean, they would probably complain because my math skills definitely aren't really up to scratch.
Oh, the same. I hated maths at school. But I always think they always make it ridiculously a bit too hard, especially when you're at secondary school. Never in my life since secondary school has anyone said, you know what, can you find X for us? X squared,
I know.
Y.
Well,
Never had to
this
know that.
this is it. I mean, do you know what? I actually, weirdly enough, I did enjoy maths because I had an amazing teacher at
Right.
Warriner. But he made it like magic. And I was good at the weird, complicated maths and the algebra and Pythagoras and all that. I was good at, but I was rubbish at timetables and stuff, because we were just this weird year. Our generation, they decided that because they'd invented calculators, we wouldn't need to know how to do our times tables or anything like that. So they just didn't enforce it. So on your basic maths, I'm pretty useless.
And so you went to Warren School. I know, yeah.
Mm.
Is that where you went? Oh, yeah. Is that they still have the farm? They had the farm there when you
They
were
had the farm
the
there. It was
farm.
very rural. We had the
Yeah.
farm, and we had the gypsies joined us for about 3 months of the year when they were passing through. It was very rural, and it was great. It was a great place. I enjoyed it.
That's cool. So how have you been doing over this year yourself, and I guess emotionally and and all that? And has it took its toll on you at all this year? Have you just took it in your stride?
No, do you know what? I am a really positive person. Um, and even I have struggled at times. And, and I think to myself, if I'm struggling, then, a lot of people must be really struggling, because I am, like I said, I'm in a good place in that I'm in the countryside. I've got access to walks really easily. I've got a family that all get on, and we all live in a house where we can find our own space, so really it should, I'm on the list of people that should be able to keep my pecker up, but I'm finding it hard. And I think, God, if I was living in a flat with two under four and tearing my hair out, I just can't imagine what some people must be going through. So I am quite aware of mental health, and have been since one of my friends had a breakdown when we were about 17 or 18 years old. So it has been part of my life in a way that it perhaps hasn't for everybody. And so I know what is important, and I knew the minute we went into lockdown in March, I knew what was going to be important for my family to keep everybody's strength and positivity up, so I kind of went into a bit of an overdrive. I like a mission, and since I couldn't work, my industry was closed down at the time. I thought, well, this is my work. My work is keeping my husband and my kids all going and my family safe. So when we first went into homeschooling, I just said to the kids, it's really important that we know when the weekend is. I know this from being an out of work actor as well. If you're not careful, you just you lie about, you drink too much, it becomes what we used to call, when we were students, a weekendless life. Everything is just endless, and you don't, there's nothing really to celebrate, because there is nothing happening again today. And that is a real slippery slope, I think, for anybody's mind. So I said to the kids, so I'm not going to drink until Fridays and Saturdays. What is there that you really enjoy that you could do, but save it till Friday and Saturday? So Fred was like, well, Fanta orange. Okay, I'm allowed that Friday, Saturday, Sunday. and Edie has these smoothies that are, sugar laden, and she was like, well, I'll save them then for the weekend. And I said, we're going to exercise every morning before we do anything. And I let them write the day as well. At that point, our school wasn't set up to go online, so we didn't have a kind of check-in, which we have this time round. So I said to them, we are still doing school, but you can write the day. What do you think is going to be interesting? And so they wrote a day each. And what was interesting was that my little girl, actually, we had a bit of a gap on Tuesday afternoon today, and I said to her, what do you want to do on your Tuesday afternoon? If we've done our maths, we've done our English, did crafts on Monday, football on Wednesday, all this. And she said, well, how about on Tuesday afternoons we just kind of sit in the garden and have a hot chocolate and talk about how we are. But I went, that's good. I know. I said, you know what? That's brilliant. We'll call that well-being. So we'll have a well-being Tuesday, and we'll do that. So yeah, we were really quite. Routine is everything for me, for mental health. It really is. And so we were quite tough on that for the first lockdown. And we're doing it again now, actually. We're a bit more relaxed about it, but they're not allowed on their devices now until 3:30, because they wouldn't if they were at normal school. And so they've got to occupy themselves if they finish their schoolwork, and luckily they're creative, so they are. But yeah, it's been hard, hasn't it? I think.
Yeah. I mean, how do you think that your kids have been doing in terms of not being able to communicate with their friends and having that social interaction? Because that worries me. You think we're going to have these kids going back into schools? I guess your kids are probably 9, 10 years old, or
11, yeah.
11. So they're going into secondary school. Is they kind of missed that first? Yeah. So they'll kind of. Going into that a bit like going into a new environment, thinking I haven't had this experience properly for a while. It's going to be a weird time for all kids.
I think all kids, but there are going to be certain years that will be really impacted by this. I think the year 7s who had, like you say, literally just started at a new school, maybe haven't had a chance to establish friendship circles. Maybe it's a completely new school, so it must be a lonely time for them. All teenagers. I mean, there's so many places you want to be out doing, and people to see, and your feelings are all 10 times stronger, aren't they, when you're an adolescent? I really feel for, I've got some friends whose kids are now year 11 and 13, and they're not going to get to do their exams. And I think our immediate feeling to that as older people is to go, oh, I bet you're all really glad you haven't got to do your exams. But actually, I can see the majority of them are gutted, because that's the end of your school years that you've been in since you were 5. It's your chance it's what you've all been geared up towards. And some people, a lot of them who've worked really hard, would love that chance to show what they can do and how far they've come, and to sort of put a stamp on the end of that life of education they've been in. And they've been robbed of it, and I really feel for them. So I think Edie and Fred in a year 6, I think at the moment, they're in not a bad year to be in, to be honest, because I think we can catch up on stuff that they've missed, and if there is anything, and they haven't at least got what the year 7s, 11s and 13s are really missing out on. And I keep saying to my friends with much younger kids, if you were in Finland, you wouldn't have started till you were 7 years old. So you can't be tearing your hair out over what your 5 and 6-year-old are learning at the moment. You got to just do your best, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. When it was that sort of relaxation of rules, did you go out much with the kids at all? Like when we were able to do a little bit more again?
Yeah, we did. We had we were in tier 2 here as well, up towards Christmas, which was near their birthdays. So we did them alpine birthdays. So we just did outdoor ones, and I did a chocolate fondue, and we had a log thing, and I just said to their friends, you've just got to wrap up mega warm, because you're going to be outside for 2 hours. So they at least got to have a bit of a birthday there. And yeah, we did meet friends outside. A problem with our age actually is that all our friends have got kids as well, so it was quite difficult to all get together because of the rule of 6, and it not including kids like it did in Scotland. So we were able to go out in shifts and see people, but it's just been a very strange year. I'm really sociable. I over-plan stuff. Actually, my husband is always saying to me, can we just have a weekend where you haven't invited 14 people for Sunday dinner, So yes, it's been particularly quiet, which has been a whole mentally again, and a whole new thing for somebody like me to learn. I am the sort of person that surrounds myself by people and keeps busy, and so learning to sort of keep calm with that peace around you
Yeah.
is a different thing, isn't it, for some people?
Yeah, it is weird just going to different environments. Like, I think when it was the summer and we had the rules relaxed and stuff, just after the first lockdown. So going into like Waterstones, and so it was hot, so I had my sunglasses on and a cap on, but I had the mask on as well. You sort of feel like Michael Jackson going around in a shop, just like just browsing through the books. Yeah, very strange experience just seeing some of these shops that you're going in.
And you kind of get a bit nervous as well. I think that's going to be a strange thing to get used to when we are all allowed back out again. I went for a walk yesterday with a friend. We were allowed to meet a friend outside for exercise. So we met halfway between our houses for a big loop walk around near Adderbury. But because it was a weekend, it was Sunday, everybody was out doing it because that's all anybody could do, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there was, we were keeping 2 meters apart, the two of us, because neither of us have seen anyone. We're both homeschooling, and we've both got elderly parents, and there's just there wasn't any need to be next to each other because we were walking outside. But we kept meeting or passing people, and actually it was the busiest I'd been around for since before Christmas. And I said to her, isn't it ridiculous? I'm actually feeling a bit edgy and nervous just being around people that are walking. I mean, what am I going to be like when we're back in a big sort of shopping centre, or go to the theatre again and you're sitting in a crowd? It's going to feel really strange, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you worry about theatre a little bit, just the future of them as well, like going in sort of post-COVID?
Yes, I think it's really I can't think about it too deeply, because it makes me well up the thought that if you'd have said a few years ago, there's going to come a time in your age where all the theatres will be closed across the land for over a year. It's like back in the dark ages, and it would be beyond me to even imagine that was possible. And I think again, I'm a positive person, so rather than kind of we know where the faults are there and how there is a huge lack of support for a lot of people who are self-employed in my industry. A lot of forgotten people. Luckily, filming is back up and running, and radio and podcasts are all managing like we are. But the theatre, what we have to remember is it's the most creative place. So roll on summer and spring, because we can, well, you've already seen there are people putting theatre shows online. You can still buy a ticket, you can go along in its own way. We are a creative force and industry, so if anybody can think of ways to try and survive this and come through the other side, it's the theatre industry. But it definitely could do with a lot more support. And I had tickets booked to go in January the 2nd, to go into a COVID safe production of Christmas Carols. The girl that was playing my daughter in Eastenders was in it, Jack Josser. So
I had tickets to this as well. I was going to go because Matt Willis was in it, wasn't he? And I was going to go. Yeah, I was going to go, and I think it was the week after or something when they're back open. And it was they did like one show, didn't they, or something like that? And it got.
But they did the press night for sure, and I don't know how many more after that. And then I was booked to go with Jake, who played my husband in EastEnders as well. So we were all going to go with our families and see each other and go there. And we didn't even make that, did we? And so no, I can't wait for theatres to reopen again. And but I am concerned that a lot of them won't survive.
Yeah.
Until that point.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we mentioned EastEnders, so I suppose we have to talk about EastEnders. I mean, how was it like when you first got that? Did it take, when you got sort of offered the part in EastEnders, did it take a while to decide that you want to do it? Because I guess there's that sort of fear that you can get pigeoned into it a little bit. But like, or was it something that you slap your hand off when EastEnders calls, you go running, or did it take a bit of thinking to do it or not?
Yeah, I did. I did say no to the audition twice because I wasn't sure about doing it. Because I had been in a show for 3 years before that, only for 6 months of each year. But once you're in contract with a show, you're not able to do anything else, and so I felt a bit like I'd only just come out of one contract from No Angels for 3 years, and I hadn't really had a look around and a play, so I wasn't really ready to go into another long contract. So that was my response the first time they called. And then they called back and said, well, just come and meet the producer for a chat, that's all, just a chat. And I remember my agent saying to me, well, listen, this is the BBC, we can't mess them about. If you don't want to do the job, we have to say now, because we don't want to let anyone down. So we did actually get back and say, look, we don't want to muck anyone around. We're not sure we do the job, so we'll just leave it there. And they said, no, it's fine. We all understand you might not want to do the job, just come in and meet. So we went and met, and it kind of snowballed on from there, really, because then you get offered it, and then when you've been a jobbing actor, you start going, oh, actually I could pay my mortgage off maybe in a few years, and I could, these things, it would be stupid. This is a job I've trained to do. It was a great family, brilliant storylines at the time, and really lovely producer Kate Harwood, great people. So I thought, and actually what was lovely as well by then was that by then people like Sarah Lancashire, who had been in Corrie for years, and Saran Jones was leaving Corrie and doing really well. Catherine Kelly was, going in at the same time as me, actually. But, I remember thinking, it doesn't necessarily have to pigeonhole you anymore. The industry is shifting, things are changing. People understand that, you haven't got to just be that one person forever. So I just have to go in knowing that I intend to work when I come out and carry on, and I won't be pigeonholed. And you do have to make some choices sometimes to make sure that doesn't happen, but it is doable. So that's good.
That's good, yeah. And like you say, you had some amazing storylines, didn't you? From Berry and Max alive to the whole Max and Stacey thing to then, I mean, Tanya, I guess she went through quite a lot of tragic stuff. So I guess when you probably get the question all the time, are you going to go back to EastEnders? But at the same time, you're thinking, well, why would Tanya go back? Because she's had to deal with so much trauma on the square. You kind of feel like, she wouldn't want to stay away.
I know. I did a podcast the other day. It was slightly embarrassing, really, because it is about, I don't know, is it 9 years ago I left? 8 years? I mean, it's a long time, right? So, and I haven't been keeping up with the show. So it was a bit awkward because I was going, well, I'm sure she's really happy and I hope she's having a great time. And the guy went, I think she's in an asylum. I was like, what? I think she had a breakdown.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, exactly. We don't know.
Wow.
I mean, I might be wrong, but you see, it all goes on in phone calls, doesn't it? But who knows?
Okay.
So maybe I can't go back.
Yeah, maybe you'll be out on parole or something from the.
But that's what years of misery does to you. So.
Well, exactly. Yeah, she's had to, from a stepson falling off the Vic to her daughter's falling off the pub as well. Like, not the number one place you'd want to go back to, I think. So, how was it you first got into acting?
Oh, I don't know. I just had been doing it since I was a kid, really, and I think I just always knew I wanted to do it. There used to be a thing on telly called Let's Pretend when I was little, and I used to watch it at lunch break when I must have been about 5 from school, and I remember thinking, that's what I want to do for a living. I want to do Let's Pretend. And so I did. Yeah, I did know from primary school I geared everything towards that because that's what I wanted to do. And I can't explain why, really. I just knew that I used to sort of, and then as I got older, people's dads were being made redundant, and in the 80s was, and I remember thinking when the recession hit, and I just thought, why not take a risk? Because if I was standing on the tube and there were all these really tired looking men in their pinstripe suits coming home, and I thought, bet you can't wait to play golf at the weekend. And I thought, well, that is my golf, that the thing I would do for free, the thing I love doing is acting and drama and theatre. And so if I said to you, you could get paid to go and play your golf at the weekend, you'd think you were the luckiest person alive, right?
Course,
so if I can make a living out of acting, then I'm going to be the luckiest person alive. And I just thought, that's the plan. And if I'm not making a living out of it, then I'll have to try something else. That's fine.
Yeah. And so was that something even as a school kid that you really enjoyed doing, like drama?
Yeah. Drama, and also theatre and English, English literature. I loved reading all the novels. I loved pulling a novel apart and the psychology of, why people do things and what they were thinking and why, all of that I love.
What were your influences, I suppose, like when you were younger on TV, whether it be actors that you admired or shows that, something that got you hooked, I guess?
I loved watching anything Alison Steadman was in, anything that Julie Walters did when I was younger, and yeah, I mean, I think there wasn't anything I didn't used to watch and think I wish I was in that.
Yeah.
I wish I was doing that, and we live near Stratford, don't we? So we did get to see a lot of great shows and a lot of bad ones, but they feed you just as much. They're just as interesting to write about and to sort of, inspire you in their own way, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Did you ever do any Shakespeare, like theatre-wise, or when you were?
I haven't done any classical theatre. I've only ever done new modern writing in theatre and, Edinburgh Fringe and things like that.
Yeah. The Shakespeare is. I can imagine you did a bit of Shakespeare. Actually, obviously you do Shakespeare in Hathaway.
Oh, I did it at drama school. Obviously.
Did it at drama school, yeah. No, I did a bit of Shakespeare when I was 18, and we had to wear the tights there as well. Like as 18, I was wearing those tights. Yeah, not the funnest. So, have you ever thought about doing any sort of writing? I guess sort of like as well as acting. Have you sort of? I guess like this year, I guess you've had the opportunity if you wanted to ever do any step back and have a think about any writing or anything.
Yeah, I think I have thought about it. I think most actors think about it at some point. I'm definitely a good editor. I'm good at editing scripts and finding clear paths through them and cutting out the rubbish. But yeah, I have had a go at writing. I think I'm more likely to write a book than TV or a script. But to be honest, I thought I'd have more time in the pandemic to look at those things. But when you have got 2 kids and the husband's working, I haven't had as much time as I thought. I need like a room of one's own, like Virginia Woolf, really, to really get stuck into it. But I think about it. But there's amazing writers out there. I'd rather work and be an actor for one of the brilliant writers that are already doing it, because you do watch stuff, don't you, and read stuff and think, I definitely can't do better than that.
Yeah. Well, how about the Shakespeare Hathaway show that you've done? I mean, how did that was something, I guess, a bit different to stuff that you've done before. Like, how was that whole experience filming in Stratford as well? Like, I've been around in Stratford when you've been filming there, people all talking about it locally and stuff, and they seem to really love it. I guess that whole experience of the show itself, has it been really fun for you?
I've loved that show. Yeah, that show. We all love making that show. We have such a good time, genuinely. We've really missed each other this year. We were due to be filming, God, I don't even know whether we're on the 3rd or the 4th series this year, from September. And we couldn't, sadly, because of COVID. So yeah, I've really missed it, actually, because we were all geared up with some great ideas for stories, and it's light, and I think it is just the sort of thing you want to watch at the moment. I don't know about you, but every time we come to sit down in the evenings, finding it really hard to watch anything too heavy or too serious, because we've already got that going on in life, haven't we? So Shakespeare in Hathaway does fill that spot, really. It's quite fun, and the kids like watching it in their lunch break. I just came down earlier and heard the music and went, "Oh, is that me?" And they were like, "Yeah, we're watching the first ever one." But yeah, you're right. It was very strange to film locally, because we film in some beautiful places and some really great estates and fancy houses. So some of them have been really lovely to look in, because like I've driven past the driveways and gone, "Oh, I wonder what's down there," all these years. And then suddenly I know what's down there now, because I'm there filming. And it's, as you know, it's just stunning around here, the countryside. So it is really lovely to get all that down for posterity, really.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful estates and stuff around Stratford way. Have you been? I guess I'm sure you've been there. Have you seen like the Shakespeare grave you have in the Stratford church?
Yeah.
And there's all these myths about the Shakespeare skull. I don't know if you've heard any of these myths about Shakespeare's skull. Okay, and I hope this story is true. But I went there once. So there's a guy that works at the church, sort of does the collections as you go into tourists and stuff. And there was this program about Shakespeare's skull and whether it's actually in the grave, because there's apparently grave robbers back in the day, get a lot of money first. Shakespeare was famous, so that was there was this program about finding Shakespeare's skull and whether it was true or not, this story. And they tried scanning it because they won't dig up the grave, because there's like a like a rhyme or something on Shakespeare's grave saying, you know, don't move my bones and all this. But they're trying to figure it out. And there's this church nearby, I think it's towards Coventry, that claim that they have Shakespeare's skull there. So they took the skull from this Coventry church and they scanned it, and it was like a woman in her 70s, the skull. So it's like, well, that can't be right. But the guy at the church said in the panic where these robbers took the skull and claimed that they'd moved it to this other church, there's this theory that they actually took the wrong skull and they took Anne Hathaway's skull.
Oh,
so it's almost like comedic. There was this program that Channel 4 did, and it's just so comedic, just thinking of these grave robbers. Like, because if they would have got caught, they would have been hung back in those days.
Yeah.
And in a panic, it's like, well, I think there's a skull here. Like, do I take it? They're coming. Just take.
Just get a skull.
Just grab it. Just grab it. Yeah. And they potentially took Shakespeare's wife's skull rather than his skull.
Poor Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway. I know, right? So what was your experiences at drama school like? Was it like, because a lot of people that I spoke to, like, they have different stories to tell. They either love the experience or sometimes they've had like been quite scarred, and then a lot of people just say like, I feel like I needed therapy after drama school. You know, I don't know, what was your experience like? I
loved drama school. I did love it. Yeah, it does pull you apart a bit because you've got to examine everything, and a good drama school will then build you back up again before you go back out there and make you feel invincible. But I know, like you, I know some people who've had bad experiences at drama school certainly haven't come flying out into the industry feeling like they could conquer the world. And that's a shame, because there was a supreme confidence that we all had leaving that place, where I remember thinking, I wish I could bottle this feeling, because you just feel so scared you become really brave. There's like this point where you're either sink or swim, isn't it? And there's so much to worry about, and it's all so scary that you might as well just jump off the cliff and put your arms out and see what happens. So I had a great time. We had great training. What we did at Welsh College at the time, which was really lovely, was that in the third year of your training, you ran like a repertory theatre. So the people who were doing a degree in costume or set design or stage management or directing, we all came together and created a theatre, really. For all intents and purposes, that then just did show after show after show for a year. And I remember one of our tutors saying, you know, you're going out somewhere where you may never work again, you may not work much, you may work constantly, but just remember, this may be the last year that you work back to back doing shows all year. So just enjoy every second and make the most of it. And I think we really did. We had a great time, and it's a really brilliant place, Welsh College. I'm sure it still is now. It's much fancier building. It's got royal status now, so it's a conservatoire. So it's a lot fancier than it was when we were there. I don't know how we got anything done though, because we did have a bar in the middle of the college.
Oh wow! Well, that's asking for trouble.
In the building, can you believe it? So yeah. I mean, I don't know how we got anywhere or did anything, but somehow we did.
Yeah. I mean, what's it like? I guess you haven't had to worry about too much this last year, but I guess when you're out and about, whether it be Banbury or Stratford and stuff, I imagine you get stopped a lot. You know, people wanted to speak to go, Tanya. Is it? I don't know how often it would happen for you, but like, can it get a bit much sometimes, or do you embrace it? Or was there just like moments where they've just picked the wrong time where you're with your kids and your family and stuff, and you're just like, come on? Or is it usually all positive and nice? Or
you're right. I think round here, lately, it's been great because we've all got masks on, so I haven't had any of it because no one can really tell. So that's all right. And locally, you know, where I always go, the places I always go, they're used to seeing me, so no, nobody bothers with me there. And generally, I think I've got friends who've played baddies, or, you know, blokes who it's a lot harder for a bloke to look quite different to how they do on screen than a woman. You know, I'm a lot scruffier than most of the people I play. So I think I know they've had hard times sometimes, but for me, because generally I've played some really nice characters, people that people like Llewellyn, then everybody generally is quite nice and, you know, and friendly. So it's not an issue. And in fact, when I'm working in Manchester or I'm living in London, it actually makes, because I'm a local girl from the village and from the countryside, I'm used to people saying hello to me when they walk past, even before all this, you know, because that's just what you do, isn't it, in the countryside. So I remember, you know, when I first came on regularly on EastEnders. In London, I was living near Bayswater, and it made the place a lot friendlier. I really liked it because suddenly, you know, the guy who I'd been seeing every day in the co-op, who couldn't care less, was constantly, oh, hello, how are you? And really friendly. I was thinking, oh, I could have had this friendliness that you get in the countryside all along, if only I'd known. So no, it doesn't bother me. There are always times and weird incidents where people, I think the worst one is when you're in restaurants and you're eating out with your family, because nobody really wants to be photographed or filmed secretly. Because I mean, it's the mobile phones, really. It's a weird thing that seems to have happened quietly over the years, that it's suddenly all right just to spy on people. And if you actually just stop and think about it, it's weird. If somebody if you noticed that you were eating your dinner and suddenly you noticed that someone was filming you and your kids secretly, you'd feel a bit creeped out. It's just a bit pervy. So nobody minds coming, you know, somebody coming up and going, can we have a photo, and having a chat? That's all fine. But doing it secretly is really a bit weird, and it does creep the kids out. You know, they just are like, why is that person doing that? And I just can't explain. I go, I don't know why.
Yeah, there's like, you know, there's a way to do it, isn't there? There's a way. It's finding the right opportunity if you want to go over to someone and talk to them, and, you know, the right opportunity, be polite, but not to do all this kind of like Big Brother stuff, like, you know, I see you, you know, it's a bit like that. It's one time, I mean, I imagine I don't get it half as much as you, but I was on a train in London once, and a kid there that's read one of my children's books and stuff, was one of his parents, and, you know, the parent, I was on the train from Banbury to London, and I was kind of a bit like, you know, I'm just looking forward to just, you know, I hadn't slept. I'm one of those people that can sleep on the train because
lucky you.
And but yeah, so this mum and a kid came over and was just like, oh, you know, he's got one of your books. Do you mind? You know, and I was like, of course, yeah, have a photo, answer some questions, sign his book, brilliant. And then they wanted to, so it's like a 55-minute journey to London Marylebone. They wanted to sit with me and just like, and it's just a bit like, you know, it can get a bit like, do you get people that just want a bit more for you than you're willing to give sometimes, and you've got to kind of be polite?
I mean, really, it just depends, doesn't it? Sometimes it's because, yeah, you've got work to do, and so you can't sit and have that chat for the 2 hours from Manchester, or you know, you might be hungover in the supermarket, and really, you know, it's hard enough getting around it without having to chat. But, you know, it's not their fault, is it? As long as they're being friendly, I suppose. I have, yeah. You just have to say, I'm really sorry, I've got some work to do, but it was really nice to meet you, don't you? And move it along and hope that they don't take offense and turn on you.
Yeah, no, that's it. I mean, so how have you been watching any sort of series or anything during lockdown? Have you been Netflixed in or out, or? Well,
do you know what? We're gutted that, you know, that we haven't got the new Succession and the new Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and some of the ones that we were really looking forward to the next series of, obviously haven't been able to film either. So it's a shame that we haven't got more of that to watch, because they're brilliant. We just finished The Crown, so we are looking for more stuff to watch. Actually, we think we might do The Serpent. Somebody said to me The Serpent yesterday. So yeah, we've watched quite a bit, but maybe not as much as you think, really, because not as much as I ever think. It must be nice to just sort of have the time, mustn't it? But yeah, I think we're at that, because the kids are at that funny age of 11 where we're just about now able to watch all the 12 films, so a whole load of new films have opened up to us, which is good. But we tend to all watch the telly together, so that kind of limits some of the more kind of cool box sets that we might have been watching, because we can't really start on them until the kids are out of the way at 9:30, 10. We've finished coming down for the 4th time, and you know.
Yeah. So what comedies is it that do you have favourite comedies, past or present, that you used to really enjoy watching? Like Vicar of Dibbling and all that.
I used to watch Ab Fab. I used to love Ab Fab. I might go and revisit that while we're in lockdown. And we're constantly, tell you what's got us through lockdown has been Modern Family.
I love Modern Family. I love it. It's
laugh out loud.
Yeah, stopped recently. I think that's so brilliantly done, and just
It's
the
so
dynamics are
such
great, isn't
great
it?
writing,
Yeah.
such great characters, and they're always so consistent with their characters.
Hmm.
The American sitcoms, it's like that with Friends actually, because they've got so many writers on it, and they're great with the history on it. So we
Yeah.
have watched every series of Modern Family at some point, because again, we can watch it with the kids, and we have, my husband is Phil Dunphy, so the kids find that hilarious. So yeah, we've that's got us through, I think, Modern Family
Yeah.
in terms of comedy.
Well, the US they're always remaking our stuff. I think we need a UK version of Modern Family. You could be the Claire Dunphy of
Oh
Modern
God,
Family.
wouldn't that be great?
That would be great. She's a really great character, I think, as well,
Oh,
Claire.
I
But
think
she's
they're all great. I'd
yeah,
like to be Gloria, but we'd need
Laura.
somebody else's body. But I could definitely do that shouting and screaming.
The
It's funny.
shouting, yeah, and just how she muddles
But
up her phrases.
my favorite. I can't choose a favorite, but I'd really want to play Cam.
Cam, oh yeah,
He's
oh
so
yeah,
great.
he's great. Yeah, yeah. Some of his quotes are just amazing, and
Yeah.
when he's like
Stella!
shouting Stella, I found the part I was born
Yeah.
to play. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. I mean, what some sad news we did have recently was the passing of obviously Barbara Windsor. I mean, what was it like just to work with her and be on set with her?
She's she's a legend, Barbara. And you know what? It's not just because she's gorgeous and warm and friendly and talented and generous, but she's also, she's the harder things as well.
Mm,
She was feisty and strong, and and a brilliant businesswoman. Actually, she knew her business. She had all the papers every day. She
mm,
knew what everyone was doing. She knew who everybody was. um you know and she was one of the loveliest welcomes I had when I joined EastEnders. She was always warm to me, and sometimes we'd share a car home because I didn't live far from her in Marylebone. And she would get cars, so she would let me jump in with her and the driver and have a big gossip.
mhm.
And I've got nothing but lovely memories of working with Barbara, and I'm just so glad that she had Scott in her life for all those years, because they were such a great team. And he's a brilliant man, Scott. He's particularly funny.
Mhm.
He's got a really great sense of humour, and yeah, I can't imagine what the next few years are going to be like for him. But
Mm.
he's got a really great family and some really really lovely friends around him. He's got a lot of support. So yeah, it is. It's incredibly sad. It's incredibly sad that her last years had to be spent with such a cruel illness. Um,
Mhm.
uh, it is, and yeah, it's sad.
Yeah. Was the last time that you saw her, was that when you were last on EastEnders, or did you get to keep in contact?
Oh no, I saw her actually. Do you know, my last outing before lockdown this
Oh, really?
March?
Okay.
Uh, so it was just before we locked down, and I went up to London to go and see a friend, Amy Lee Hickman, who I was in Ackley Bridge with, and her and a group of friends, and we were going out for the night to the arts club, and we had a really good night out, and we had a really good dance and a really good meal and stuff. And that was the last night out I ended up ever having this year. But before, in the afternoon, I said to Scott, I am nearby and I've got nothing on. Can I pop in and see you? So I went round, and I had a cup of tea with Barbara and Scott, and they had another good friend of the family there as well. And so that was the last time I saw Barbara. Yeah. And she had obviously changed quite a lot since the last time I saw her. But she looked great, and she was obviously being very well cared for by Scott. So yeah, I did see her this year actually, not long before lockdown.
Yeah. And the way that Peggy, I suppose, her character left EastEnders was such a well, it was an emotional scene. Just seeing Pat, Pat there, and in spirit with Peggy, and I think it was really nice how Peggy went out. Obviously, it was just she kind of went out on her own terms, and how she sort of stayed true to her character and the way she wanted to leave. I thought that was a really poignant way for Peggy to leave the square, and sort of very very nice moment. Not a horrific, EastEndery kind of death. It was just nice. a nice way for Peggy to go out, I felt.
Hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, what have you been doing since EastEnders in general? You know, any more theatre and stuff going on? I obviously have.
What are you saying? What have I been doing for the last 8 years?
Well, yeah, basically,
quite a lot.
Shakespeare and Hathaway. Mount
That's
Pleasant.
just the most recent one. So I came out of that, and I did. First thing I did was a comedy for Sky, I think, called Trying Again with Chris Addison. Sam Blackwell, brilliant writer, who writes Breeders at the moment for Sky. And then I did quite a few things, didn't I? And then I don't know when Ackley Bridge started, about 5 years ago, I think I did Ackley Bridge for Channel 4, which has been brilliant and was really lovely to work back with Sinatra Saka on that. And it is quite an important piece. It's a good show. It's moved to Netflix now, so it's really nice because during lockdown it's kind of inherited a new audience, and some of the younger people that should have been watching it the first time round, actually, who were possibly more on Netflix than they were on Channel 4 at the time, have really started enjoying it. So I'm getting some really nice sort of delayed feedback from that. So I finished filming that this year in March. We got locked down, so we sort of filmed a bit in March and then a bit in October, and then Shakespeare and Hathaway has been the other side of the year. So I've been doing those 2 shows for the last 4 years, either side of the year, really. So this year's been the quietest for me, the most time I've ever spent at home, and the least I've ever worked. It's very strange, since I was 16, you know, so it's bizarre, isn't it? It must be like that for a lot of people who've never stopped, you know, who have been furloughed.
Has it been nice to have that time out to kind of like reflect and take that time out though?
It has been really nice. Yeah. It's been really nice for sure. But and I'm lucky my husband's a teacher, so we've had somebody working in the house. But and it's definitely been great to be around for the kids and to be around to homeschool and all that, for sure. We've had some really great moments during lockdown. But I am now at that point where I'm starting filming again in a few weeks' time for something for a new Netflix thing. And
nice.
It's a bit like, do you remember when you used to leave school and you'd have the summer holidays and you'd be going back in September and you'd start to think, what if I can't write? What if I've forgotten how to write? I feel a bit
forget how to hold a pencil or something.
Yeah, I'm slightly worried that I might have forgotten how to do my job, because it feels like such a long time since I think I finished Ackley in October. So yeah, it will be the longest break I've ever had. So I'm as long as I can do it again. But God, a bit scared that I might not be able to.
Well, do you miss playing Tanya? Do you miss her, like her as a person?
No. I think it's most fun to play things that are really different to yourself.
Yeah,
that's the fun part. And there was a lot of sort of mumsiness about Tanya that was quite similar to me, and she sort of put up with so much from, I think I'd sort of done as much as I could there, really. As in terms of characters I've played and parts I've done, it's not the one that I've most enjoyed. There are always ones that are so different from what you do like normally.
Patty Edwards.
And that look different, and that you kind of feel like you've really inhabited in a different kind of way. And that you have a bit more ownership over. You can never really own a character in a soap, because you're at the mercy of wherever the story's going next, you know, which is a brilliant thing. It's the thing that soap does brilliantly. So no, I don't miss playing her.
No. It sounds like you need to get you in a comedy, but it sounds like a Modern Family style comedy.
Oh yeah. Well, wouldn't everyone like to be in something like that? You're right. Wouldn't it be nice to have a version? But you see, you've got to have that faith in the writing, and we've got such brilliant writers here, but I think a lot of people interfere, don't they? So many cooks.
Yes.
And we don't have the money to throw at it that America have got. That's the thing.
Yeah, we don't really remake American stuff, do we? It's always the other way around. They remake.
We don't, because they have 13 writers. You know, do you remember when they were writing Friends? They'd have 13 writers, and then they'd have writers there on the day in front of the live audience. And if the gag didn't land, they'd rewrite it there and then, refilm it, so that everything landed. You know, and that's a really expensive process that we just don't do here, and we find it hard to hold on to our writers. You know, I feel for the soaps and stuff, you know, because they find some brilliant writers and they nurture them all the way through, and then they can't afford to keep them. You know.
Yeah, that's it. Well, stuff like stuff like Modern Family is brilliant because it doesn't have to. I like comedies that don't have to be controversial or swear or anything like that. They can just take day to day lives. That's why I love Peter Kay. He can just take everyone's day to day stuff and just be funny. Like
same as Jason Manford and Michael McIntyre.
yeah, those guys. Yeah, they don't. I know you get Little Britain and and Little Britain and and there's some comedians that are. They can offend to be funny, I suppose. They don't have a line. Frankie Boyle, for example, someone like that.
God, yeah,
yeah. They don't mind what they say as long as it gets the laugh. But I think if you can be funny without, I think Angela
it's much cleverer, isn't it?
Yeah, you said punching up rather than punching down. Punching down at people.
Yeah.
And I think Modern Family is a great one of those shows that just is what it is, isn't it? And you can just relate to it.
It's structurally so good, isn't it? Every episode, the way they bring them round, they take one tiny brilliant theme and then they just weave it throughout an episode so well.
Yeah, and they not just make you laugh but make you cry as well. There's that bit where I think Hayley's struggling to get through to her dad, and she's worried that her dad's disappointed in her and stuff, and she's going off with some guy, some jean salesman or something, and he's like, no, I'm going after her, this little game of chicken work for you and your dad, Claire, but that's my and she hears that and she starts bawling and stuff, and some really beautiful moments in Modern Family. We need someone to do it, and like I said, you need to play Claire Dunphy. I can see it happen. Even Jason Manford or something, that would work brilliant.
That would be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
he'd be a good Dunphy,
yeah. Do I suppose you do know, you have your little following on Instagram that they've messaged me to know you're coming on. The Jo Joyner, I can't remember the username exactly now, but I'm sure you're aware of it. The Jo Joyner Instagram.
There's a little group of them. There's a few of them girls, and they're just fantastic. They're really lovely. Yeah. It
must be really nice for you to, because they're constantly posting the photos of you and the updates and how much you inspire them. So that's really
they
nice.
They find stuff I've never seen before. It's very strange. Yeah.
You're like, when was that photo?
I know, and it's sweet because they'll go to me, when's that show coming out? I'll just film something and they'll go, when's it coming on? And I think to myself, well, I don't know yet, but I also know that you will know before me. You can guarantee. I sometimes find out from my super fans when the show's airing. I'll say to my agent, it's on the 21st of January. Did you know? No, I didn't know. How do you know that? We just saw it on my fans page. All right.
They gave me a few questions.
They're like little detectives. They should be on Shakespeare.
Oh yeah. Well, they gave me a few questions to ask you. I hope that I've answered, covered them all for them.
Oh yeah.
And should we check? Yeah, should we check? I think one of them was, what was your favourite subject at school? But I guess you weren't really kind of. Well, you did enjoy maths because you had a great teacher, but it wasn't...
did enjoy maths. English was my favourite though. Poetry and novels and English. Yeah.
Would you like to return to Eastenders one day? But it doesn't sound like it's on the agenda right now, right?
I'll never say never, but it's not in the immediate. Could do something a bit more fun, as in funny, not that Eastenders isn't fun.
Yeah. Okay. Who was your favourite and least character to play? Your favourite and least favourite?
Oh, my least favourite character. God, that's a really good question, isn't it? But but I think because essentially, if I'm doing it, I'm just grateful and happy to be doing it. That I probably haven't listed any as not enjoying playing them. There's definitely times when I think I haven't quite nailed it, and so that would sort of hang with me. But I did do Midsummer Night's Dream at college, and I played Hermia, and I never quite did it the way I wanted to. So that kind of haunts me a little bit. I knew that I think if you play a lover in Shakespeare, you've got to find the character. And I played a lot more characters than I did lovers. So when I played a lover, I really wanted to put the character in it and find the humor and find her feisty bits and stuff. And it can be really difficult to do that with some of the romantic parts, especially in Shakespeare and the classical ones, because on the surface they can be a little bit bland, and but so maybe I could have done better with Hermia, but apart from that, I don't think there's anyone that I've played where I've gone, oh, this is just boring, I need to leave and I don't like this. Because if there is, I suppose you're maybe not doing your job properly. Maybe you need to look a bit deeper and find the good the interesting bits, don't you?
And I guess you probably you're sold on a part before you take it, right? Like I guess you have to.
Yeah, you do. Although, having said that, you can be sold a part, and then by the time you come to film it, they've rewritten it a million times. And a million chefs have had a little poke at it, and it's completely different to the one you accepted anyway. So, so it doesn't necessarily mean it's a safe bet. But yeah, you do generally have an idea of what you're going for.
Yeah. So, just to finish off, I mean, how would you like to see us emerge, I suppose, from COVID? I mean, how do you see us all emerging from it? Hello, you frozen on me? Hello. Yes. So how would you, I guess, thinking future? How do you like to see us emerge from COVID? Whether it be the country, whether it be the way the theatres are. I mean, is there something that you really would like to see us or post-COVID world?
Oh God, what wouldn't I? I mean, I can't wait to just have my friends round for dinner. I can't wait to be able to have my kids' friends round, and I can't wait for theatre, all of it, to open back up. And I think what's great is that we all will really, really appreciate those things more than ever, won't we, when we're allowed to do them again. I think once my parents and some of our, elderly relatives are vaccinated, and our carers, our NHS workers, and, personally, I do think possibly our teachers, once we feel like our kind of workforce and our nearest and dearest are a bit safer, I think that will take a lot of pressure off a lot of us, won't it? Because and I think we just got to try and keep positive, haven't we? Look forward to a summer where we're all out, at least picnicking and getting on with life a bit more, and hopefully going to see some shows. I look forward to all of it. There isn't one single thing that I could pick out. I just want it all back.
Yeah. Would you ever consider going on any of the reality shows that there are at the minute?
No, not at the moment. I mean, I love watching them. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
This is not a snobbery thing, because I absolutely love watching them. I think they're great.
Yeah.
But I am awful when I haven't eaten and slept. When I haven't slept, nobody needs to see me or know me. Nobody, let alone an entire nation. And I would have no followers or friends left. So I love watching those shows. And there's definitely bits of them that I go, oh, that would be great. It'd be great to, go and do that challenge or slide down that water chute. But actually, the rest of it that goes along with it, like using a loo that everyone's, no
eating kangaroo bollocks.
I don't want to eat a kangaroo, Willie. I just don't. So no, I'm not in the foreseeable. But never say never.
Never say never. Nothing like about something like Strictly. Would that be more up your street? A bit Strictly?
I've thought about that in the past. I have been asked, and I have thought about that, and I do think, I mean, that must be fantastic. But I also know everybody I know who's done it say it's the most terrifying thing they've ever done. So I definitely would get fit, and I'd probably enjoy it. But I just don't think I'd be any good. I really don't think I'd be any good at it. I'm not. I love dancing, but trying to follow some sort of pattern that I'm supposed to be doing or be led, I think I'd be awful.
I'm sure you would be great. But anyway, Jo, it's been fantastic talking today. I hope you and your family stay safe and keep well.
Thank you.
And hopefully, hopefully we're seeing more from you in the very near future.
Thanks very much. Nice talking to you.
Thank you. You too.
Keep safe.